This is the first of 4 tutorials on manually identifying, reducing, or removing unwanted noise. In this one, we're going to take a look at noise. Now, you can certainly hear noise, but if you get a chance to look at it, it helps you then remove it later. So to follow along, just go get these 2 files, Noises Music and Noises Speech, inside the Working Files folder, Noises subfolder, those 2 folks right there. So we want to see noise. Well, here we are in the waveform view, and you might sort of suspect that something's going on with this one because it's got that sort of round thing at the beginning and the end, and this one has this kind of stump to it, and this one has something going on at the end there too. So you get a sense that perhaps something is going on with this part of the file. We'll play it. It'll immediately recognize that, yep, something is going on. Obviously, you have a big hum there. What's going on here at the beginning of this one? Some hiss going on there. So you can look at the waveform and you can sort of get a sense that something is going on. And lots of times there's like audience noise or just some kind of a hiss. If you zoom in on the decibel line here, if you get really tight to it, you begin to see some kind of rough edges right along here that give you a sense that maybe something is going wrong. You begin to see some stuff showing up. Not in this case, but that would be the case elsewhere. I'll go back to full screen by going Control / or Command / to get everything all zoomed out again. So here in the waveform view, there's only so much that you can see. The magic view is the spectral frequency view, and there you can see noise much more readily. And you might be going, oh, yeah, I don't really see noise there, but you will in a second. I think you begin to figure this thing out in a moment. We'll take a look at these 7 little segments, each one of which has a different kind of noise. Let me go over to this first one. I'm going to zoom in on it by just right-clicking here and dragging. And now you take a look at this thing more closely. So something is going on down here. That hum you heard moments ago is showing up. It shows up right there. You can begin to see those little purple lines down the bottom. And that's a 60 hertz hum, the famous hum caused by the frequency of electricity, the cycles of electricity in North America. It would be 50 hertz if this were Europe. And to see that more clearly, I'm going to zoom in down here on the bottom by right-clicking here and dragging. In the spectral frequency view, you can right-click in this vertical ruler and drag to define the region you want to see. And now we can see these guys, and we see them pretty sharply because I zoomed in. I increased the spectral frequency resolution. The default view would be something like this. So I go Control-Shift or Command-Shift down arrow, and the default view would be something more like that, kind of this chunky-looking stuff. But if you go Control-Shift or Command-Shift up arrow, you can sort of zoom in and get this sharper defined view. I'll go in even further. I'll zoom in even more by right-clicking and zooming to there. And now you can see there's the 60 hertz line. And what's typical for a 60 hertz hum is that it has overtones, 120, 180. This is a typical situation where you've got a 60 hertz hum and a bunch of its overtones. Now I've shown you the notch filter and other filters that can remove 60 hertz hum, and we'll then tackle this problem with those filters as well as we go forward here. I'm going to zoom all the way back out by going Control or Command /, and we'll go on to this next one here. Let's just see what that sounds like. There's a sort of white noise or kind of motor noise. But you can spot noise by just looking here in the spectral frequency display. Let me zoom in on that by right-clicking and dragging here. Noise is this kind of just overall sort of evenly spaced, evenly colored stuff. Kind of just junk that floats through all the frequencies here. Rather than being distinct, it's just this kind of a rough look to it. And it's not all that difficult to deal with this kind of constant noise, and I'll show you how to do that in the next tutorial. So that's kind of a static-y kind of a noise. We'll move on down to the next one. It sort of looks similar, but you can see that it gets brighter down here, it gets louder down here, and then it gets quieter up on top. This is more like a hum and a hiss thrown together. A hum and a hiss. Why is that? That's because it's a fan and a motor. So we can deal with that because it too is a constant sound. You're able to grab constant sounds, get noise prints they're called, and then apply them and remove the noises. I'll show you how to do that in the next tutorial. You can see also that there are some constant frequencies running through here in certain places. But that will hopefully be dealt with when we get rid of the constant noise. Let's move on down the line here. This too looks kind of like static, but it has little lines through it, like it is not necessarily a constant sort of flow. It has its own little lines, own little frequency bands, and also kind of starts and stops and starts and stops. So that's because this is a vinyl record scratch. So you got that sort of constant vinyl record static plus the occasional scratches. This is challenging because you got to get rid of the general static and then pick out individual scratches. Not an easy task. We'll just 2 tutorials from now, I'll show you how to deal with the static in the next one and then how to deal with the individual scratches later. Move on down the line here. What's going on with this guy? This has individual clicks. How you spot a click? There's usually some kind of a bump here where the frequency goes up pretty high. Here you can see the music is down here, and suddenly there are these things jumping up. Some of those guys can be music, but some of those also probably are clicks. Let's listen here. So you can see that's a click there, one over there. So those are clicks or pops, and you try to fix them by isolating them using one of these tools up here to isolate it and then do what's called an auto heal. I'll show you that 2 tutorials from now. And let's move on down the line to this guy. This one is not so easy to work with. It's coughing. So you can see the cough. This thing here, that there, that's the cough. It's obviously different than the rest of the frequencies. It sort of stands out from the rest of them. It covers a lot of ground there. It covers a large frequency range here when you have a cough like that. Finally, we move on to this next one. It has these distinct lines here, right there, in a pair there, and another pair of lines there. What the heck is this, right? Oh. Great, someone's cell phone goes off in the middle of the concert. How do we deal with that? Well, we can try to get rid of those guys too. It tends to cut out a lot of the sound when we get rid of it, but we'll give that a try 2 tutorials from now. So that's basically what you look for when you try to see noises. I've shown you here on the music side. I'll just flip over to the voice side, the speech side. I created both of these files using the same set of noises, so it'll look similar. It's the same kind of a process, has the same sounds, but speech is different. You can see each word here as it goes along, rather than music, which is kind of a constant flow. And so dealing with noises inside speech is a little bit different than dealing with noises inside music. It's easier with music because it's a flow, and you can usually pick up a sound on one side of some noise and the same sound on the other side of the noise and blend them together, removing the sound in between. With a speech, it's different. It's individual discrete words. Not as easy to remove sounds when you're dealing with speech, but we'll try both in the upcoming tutorials.